Thank you. Welcome everyone to the 371st meeting of the City of Laurel Board of Appeals, meeting in regular session on Thursday, November 17th, 2022. First order of business is roll call. Ms. Quillen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Whitley? Mrs. Les?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas? Chairman Smalls?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Agenda number 2 is the approval of minutes from our July 28th, 2022 meeting. Commissioners or board members, if you've had an opportunity, I hope you have, to review the minutes. If there are no edits or changes, I'll accept the motion to approve. Don't everyone speak at once.
I didn't attend, so I can't say.
And I'm trying to figure out if I did attend.
Just so long ago, right? Yeah.
I moved to approve the minutes of July 28, 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Les. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Quillen, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Les?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
I can't vote.
Abstained? Chairman Smalls?
I vote yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3 is special exception application number 932, resolution number 22-08-BOA for 555 Main Street, filed by LaNita Cousin and Kurvaceous, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Bottles Karnival LLC, seeking approval to allow for rental hall use. Mr. Burrow.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and fellow board members.
Long time no see.
I know, long time. Before we start, I'd like to just introduce and welcome you to one of our newest members who's on the line with us tonight, Miss Emily Klein Gibson. She's been with us less than a month right now, so I just want to introduce her to you, and you'll be hearing from her in the future for future board members. So I'd like for you guys to welcome her, Miss Emily Klein Gibson.
Is she not willing to be on screen?
Well, I'm not sure. So I think she just wants to, just be online just to see.
Yeah, okay. There you are. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
All
right, Mr. Burrow.
Yes. Again, good evening, Mr. Chair and fellow board members. Special exception application 932 was filed on August 9th, 2022 by Kurvaceous Bottles Karnival, aka Miss LaNita Cousin, to add rental hall use, live entertainment to the existing building located at 555 Main Street, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. Under date of September 12, 2022, a cover letter, justification letter, and a security plan asking for comments were sent to the state and local agency of Maryland, and the comments are in the technical staff report. On September the 28th, 2022, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advertising the scheduled public hearing before the City of Laurel Planning Commission and Board of Appeal was sent by certified mail to all contingent property owners, and all receipts were received. Just to note, the applicant is seeking special exception approval to add rental hall use. The applicant proposes to provide rental hall use 5 days a week for social and private functions. Tuesday, she'll be open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on Fridays, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. Saturdays, 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Per the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Section 20-16.5, rental hall, event hall, 10 spaces per 1,000 square feet available for patrons and 1 per employee. The applicant parking requirement is 43 parking spaces. The total parking in the Patuxent Place is 416 parking spaces for the entire complex. The applicant meets the required parking. The applicant building is located inside the Patuxent Park apartments. Parking analysis. She has 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet net commercial required, 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit required, 40 residential units by 1.5 is 60 parking spaces required, and there's over 81,840 commercial spaces over 1,000, which will give you a 328 parking spaces required. And the net for the apartment building is 388 spaces, but they are provided 416 parking spaces. At the City of Laurel Planning Commission held on October the 18th, the following action was taken by this zoning application. On motion of Mr. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Bador, and carried on a roll call vote of all members voted to recommend approval to special exception 932 for 555 Main Street, Laurel, Maryland, 20707 as presented in the technical staff report to the Board of Appeals. Staff recommends special exception application 932 located at 555 Main Street, Laurel, Maryland, 20707 with the following conditions. The applicant shall adhere to the approved hours of operation stated in the staff report, and if changed, shall notify the city. The applicant should comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations for protection of the use of the property. Lastly, the applicant shall obtain all permits required by the City of Laurel for this business. The file contains a certificate of publication verifying this application and public hearing was advertised in the September 28, 2022 issue of the Prince George's Post. The file contains an affidavit signed by the applicant attesting that a zoning sign has been placed on the property and has remained and shall remain until a decision is reached by the Board of Appeals. That concludes the reading of the file, Mr. Chair, and the applicant is on the line for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burrow. Before we go to the applicant, I'd like to ask the members of the board if they have any questions for staff.
I have a question. Could you confirm the hours on Saturday again?
Yes, hours are 9 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Because that's not what we have on our sheet. We have
Okay,
9 a.m. to 1 a.m.
okay, that's it. I'm sorry. That's
Okay.
it. Yes.
Mr.
Any other
Burrow,
questions?
Yes.
so when you are telling the number of parking spaces, you're including parking spaces outside of the boundaries that we're seeing here?
When they calculated the whole parking space, that's accumulation for the whole site.
Okay,
So, yes.
and you're not counting any on the street?
No, ma'am, we do not allow for, when they do parking tabulations, we don't allow for street parking.
Great. In the buildings that are surrounding the rental hall, are there apartments upstairs in those buildings?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is this midnight time going to affect them? Do they
Okay.
know that this is coming?
Yes, we do a publication for everybody that knows that anything that comes from special exception, the property owners and the owners of the apartment know of this application coming. So they were forewarned, yes.
Okay, and you didn't get any feedback on it?
No, ma'am, none at all.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
And that was my
Any
concern.
other comments?
I was just
Mhm.
concerned about the 1 AM on Friday and Saturday. That's awful late. I thought maybe like 12 midnight would be okay, but I guess if no one had any comments that lives there about it, then they're fine with it.
Yes, ma'am. Most of the time when you get into the 1 AM to it, we're mostly concerned about the police department, which did not have any issues.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for staff? I do have a couple, Mr. Burrows. Just to follow up on your comment about the police, I noticed in the department and agency response, as you stated, that the police department didn't have any issues. I noticed in the applicant's justification that security would be provided, whether it's off-duty Laurel police officers with approval, or if need be, private security. But I also noticed with some interest that the building and fire marshals didn't respond or didn't have any comment. And I think it was noted that somewhere in the staff report that neither agency, I'll find a particular area, but I thought it interesting, particularly that the fire marshal didn't weigh in on building occupancy, that is the number of people. I didn't read that anywhere in the staff report or in the applicant's justification about how many people are allowed for any particular given event. What's the capacity, do you know, per the fire marshal's office for events like wedding receptions, et cetera, which sometimes can have a pretty sizable crowd?
To answer your question, Mr. Chair, and I hope I answer the best I can. Usually what happens is the fire marshals and them, they'll wait to approval and then they will go in and do a capacity. So hopefully that answers your question. A lot of times when we do these special exception, they will come in afterwards and do a occupancy load then.
And it seems backwards.
That's
If I
interesting.
can kind of jump in there, Mr. Chair, that's correct. It's the life and safety review is done afterwards. They'll go in and determine that. So even what we may say what our capacity or what it is per parking, that it could be significantly less based on what the fire marshal finds in there. But they do come in after the fact. When they're filing for their use and occupancy, they'll do a life and safety check also along with that.
But by then, all of the approvals from Planning Commission and in this case, Board of Appeals have already been made.
Well, at that point, what they're saying is that what we're just looking at, you're looking at just the use of it. Now they, per the conditions, if you see, they say that they have to get all these approvals for it to be essentially finalized. And that's the very important one, is meeting the capacity and so forth. So that's why that's done after the fact on that, as far as all those approvals. But this is just kind of the initial phase. Can they even do the use? And then they obviously have to meet all the rest of the criteria in order to open to do that use.
I understand. And so the fire marshal, upon their review, if they find any conditions or issues, can, based on their report, require some modifications or halt the forward progress of the project completely.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. If there are no further questions from the board to staff, we'll hear from the applicant. If you'll introduce yourself and give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is LaNita Cousin. I am the owner of Kurvaceous Bottles Karnival. I currently reside in Laurel, 9700 Baltimore Avenue. And I want to say thank you for the consideration. And as far as the use and occupancy, I am, again, as I stated, was told that we have to go through this process before the fire marshal is notified, and then they come out and they do a complete walkthrough. The building has been added or adjusted for sound to try to absorb some of the sound. So there is padding in the walls and there's padding on the floors to absorb more sound. Everyone that the property manages has been emailed that this is coming, and they've been notified since July. So every time a monthly email goes out to all of the residents, it's been included in their email that this is coming. Any further questions?
Okay. Board members, any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have one. It may have been stated, but what is the capacity for upstairs and downstairs?
The estimated capacity that was given to me was 100 people sitting upstairs, downstairs, and 125 estimated sitting and standing. But until the fire marshal comes in, I'm estimating maybe that 100 would be sitting and standing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? My computer just crapped out on me. So I'm speaking strictly from my phone. But board members, any other comments or
guess-
questions from the applicant, for the
I
applicant?
guess the parking lot will accommodate the 100. Well, I guess some people will be double up in the car, so it looks like it may accommodate.
On weekends, yes, ma'am. What I've noticed, I go around there various times of the day, mainly on Friday and Saturday, to see what is actually going on. The parking lot is pretty empty on Friday and Saturday in both sides of the complex. So even if you park on the immediate side where the building actually sits, because the building sits in the middle of the U, there's still parking on the far left-hand side, and you can just
Yeah.
walk over there.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions, comments for the applicant? Ms. Cousins, I'm just interested in the hours of operation, not so much, well, the Monday through, or rather Tuesday through Thursday.
Yes.
You anticipate use, regular use during those hours?
It's a possibility if anyone is
Okay.
using space for corporate event.
Mhm, mhm.
I really don't want to use the word corporate, but if small businesses want to use it for something where they're inviting their guests just out for a day or something like that. So it's a possibility. A lot of times the building technically won't be open. I will be in there. So if someone needed to, I guess, do a walkthrough or a client wanting to come see the space will be open for them to see.
Okay, understood. Okay,
And what I've also noticed with the other businesses there, if I'm allowing the client to book up until 1 a.m., that just means by 12:30, there's no music playing. By 1 a.m., they must be out of the building.
I see, okay. So you shut them down, you'll shut them down early enough that the noise level will be either eliminated or greatly reduced by 1 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Understood, okay.
I just have a question on that 1 a.m. What happened to the 12 p.m. time we were talking about?
There should be no 12 p.m. So
I mean, I thought the time was till midnight.
on
Mm-mm.
Friday and Saturday, it's from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. Meaning that if a client, if it's a wedding, they need all day to decorate or do whatever they need to do. If it's just, I'll say a birthday celebration and you don't need the whole day, the building is still available to the client at 9 a.m. in the morning, but no later than 1 a.m. Everyone must be out of the building.
Mrs.
So-
Collins, did you ask that question? and
Yeah,
got an
she
answer of
corrected it.
midnight?
She corrected it. She said on Saturday, as it is on Friday, it's 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. And that's
Okay,
what was on the
okay.
sheet that was given to us. And
Okay.
that's what she approved that. She approved that. So we're
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant or for staff before we entertain a motion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve special exception application number 932-555 Main Street as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, respond by saying aye.
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 And I guess for the record, Ms. Quillen, we'll have everyone do a roll call.
Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Les,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Smalls,
I vote yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. We'll also vote on the resolution, I suppose, as resolution number 22-08 DOA. Should we call, well, we'll call for a vote on the resolution as well. Ms. Quillen, call the roll for the resolution.
Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Les,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Smalls,
I vote yes, and I have just one comment on the resolution on the last page, under the signature attest portion of it. I'm only chairwoman on the weekends, and I presume I'll sign this during the week, where it has my name, and then under it, it has chairwoman.
We'll make that correction.
Okay,
motion carries.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Ms. Cousins, we wish you the best. Don't forget us.
I certainly will not. As soon as I hear from the fire marshal and my door is open, you all will know.
Excellent, excellent. That concludes our agenda. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Appeals? Hearing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you. And I want to wish everyone on this call a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Don't eat too much. Don't eat too much. Not too much. Well, I'll be at home, so I'll eat and drink till I can't stand it any longer. But I wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Have a great
You too.
holiday.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.